A punch travels from a threat to your face in 0.3 seconds. That's not enough time to think, you're running on reflex. Here's what matters. Your nervous system decides, not your conscious mind. Train it accordingly. Your reaction time to a visible threat averages 0.3 seconds. In that window, your visual cortex processes the image in 100 milliseconds. Another 100 milliseconds travel to your muscles, and you have 100 milliseconds left to respond. That is less time than it takes to form a single word. Your conscious brain cannot process fast enough, so your survival depends on your unconscious pathways, the basal ganglia and cerebellum, which operate without deliberate thought. Every martial art that claims to prepare you for real violence must address this bottleneck. White Lotus combatives does not ignore it. The system is built around it. You cannot think your way through a 0.3 second fight. You must train your nervous system to bypass conscious thought entirely. That starts with understanding what your body does before you even perceive the threat. When a threat appears, your body triggers a rapid threat assessment. Distance, size, speed, past experience, all processed subconsciously. Most people experience the resulting physiological changes as panic, heart pounding, hands shaking, vision narrowing. You interpret these as fear or loss of control. But these are not signs of weakness. Your heart rate increases to pump oxygen to muscles. Your hands shake because your body is priming them for explosive action. Your vision narrows to focus on the most critical visual information. The White Lotus framework teaches you to reframe these sensations as your body preparing for action, not as fear. This reframing is systematic. You learn to recognize the signals before they overwhelm you. You acknowledge them without judgment. Then you use them. This is the first step to staying functional inside the 0.3 second window. The second element is motor programming. Your brain has two pathways for movement. The conscious pathway through the prefrontal cortex, slow, deliberate, easily disrupted by stress, and the unconscious pathway through the basal ganglia and cerebellum, fast, automatic, resistant to stress. The 0.3 second fight cannot use the conscious pathway. There is not enough time. Every technique in White Lotus is designed to be trained into the unconscious pathway. This begins with basic skill development, BSD. You repeat fundamental movements thousands of times, striking patterns, blocking and parrying mechanics. You perform them slowly, deliberately, with constant correction. Speed comes later, once the movement is locked into your nervous system. The key insight is that you cannot think your way into automaticity. You must drill your way there. The curriculum specifies minimum repetition counts based on motor learning research. It takes roughly 3,000 to 5,000 correct repetitions to begin moving a skill into procedural memory. It takes 10,000 or more to make it truly automatic under stress. Repetition alone is not enough. The White Lotus methodology calls this stress inoculation. You expose students to controlled doses of stress during training, real enough to trigger a physiological response, but controlled enough that you can still function. Over time, you learn to maintain technical quality even when your heart rate is elevated, your breathing is ragged, and your vision is narrowing. This is not about eliminating the stress response. It is about learning to work with it. A critical component is training grappling and throwing techniques in high-pressure scenarios. When you are in close contact with an aggressive opponent, your stress response intensifies. Proximity triggers deeper survival instincts. Physical contact can cause panic in untrained individuals. White Lotus students learn to stay calm in the clinch. They execute throws and takedowns while maintaining breathing and awareness. This prepares you to operate in the worst conditions. Third element is cognitive. This is the most subtle and the most powerful. The 0.3 second fight is not entirely unconscious. There is a brief window where conscious decision-making is possible. The question is whether you have a decision to make. Most people have no pre-planned response to violence. They enter that window with nothing but biology. They improvise at the mercy of their amygdala. White Lotus gives you a framework. You pre-decide, if this happens, I do this. You rehearse specific responses to specific threats, a punch, a grab, a weapon. This pre-planning reduces the cognitive load inside the window. You are not deciding from scratch. You are recognizing a pattern and executing a preloaded response. This is not robotic, it is decisive. You train these decisions under extreme conditions. Low light, exhaustion, being shouted at, multiple threats, protecting someone else. This is advanced skill development ASD. The 0.3-second fight is not a metaphor. It is a measurable biological reality. You cannot think your way through it, but you can train your way through it. The White Lotus framework addresses this from 3 angles: recognizing physiological signals, training motor programs, and building a cognitive framework. Each element reinforces the others. You learn to reframe stress as preparation. You drill movements until they are automatic. You pre-decide your responses. This is not about eliminating the stress response, it is about working with it. Your body will react, your training determines how. The 0.3-second window is fixed. You cannot slow it down, but you can change what happens inside it. That is the entire purpose of White Lotus combatives. That is what we train. The 0.3-second fight is yours to control. Train your nervous system, reframe your stress, and pre-decide your responses. That's how you survive. Now get to work.